Jerome Corsi, I'm here.
Hi, Jerome Corsi. Doctor.
Yes, how's everybody today? We're about to have President Trump speaking at CPAC. I'm not sure if I'm sure we'll hear about it all day long. So if he says anything of really significance, it'll be repeated by the news constantly. I'm not sure the speech will cover anything in terms of this is going to be kind of a speech, I would suspect.
Does anybody have a link on that?
Yeah, I don't know whether he's not out on the stage yet. I'm watching it on Fox. And so I guess we'd monitor it or listen to it, but I'm not sure we need to listen to it. I think through the day we'll hear anything of significance that he said, I believe, repeatedly. At any rate, let's I'd like to get get those going now.
Going on.
Yeah, they say my stream particularly can't hear me. Is that still the case, or is it I'm breaking up badly? Shall I reboot?
Fine. I don't think it's you.
Starting up again. No, I think it's okay now. They're saying I'm still breaking up. Hear me? It may just be that the parts I'm looking at here.
Dr. Corsi?
Yes.
Do you
I know
he has made it.
Yes, coming through on the. Somebody says we're running music in the background, buffering in and out. I can't hear. That's still earlier part of the stream, buffering, low voice.
It's going to be there. So what you see in the chat is already delayed.
Yes, I know. I'm just wondering, what do you think? Do you think we're okay now, or do you think we? Yeah, people are starting to hear me now. I think it's okay.
It's not you, is what I said.
Okay, well let's start into it. Rick Gates. Look, Rick Gates. I've known Rick Gates over the years, and Rick Gates has a family. He's got 4 kids, and he does not have the money to do the defense that it's going to take. I mean, he would need to have a defense fund of a couple. Going to be the problem is that when does he get that kind of money? People are saying again, they're still saying they can't hear me over there. I think I might want to click off and come back. What do you think?
By antidote that trolls are complaining about your audio to keep you from talking.
Okay. Rick Gates, he's under financial stress to defend himself. Mueller has pressed him so hard with these charges that he'd have to have a couple $1 million to be able to get lawyers to defend himself. And he faces maybe 10 years in jail if he's convicted. And with a family of 4 young kids, this is devastating to Gates to have to go through this experience. So Gates is going to make a deal, the amount of time he has to spend in jail, and the amount of money he has to spend defending himself. It's a typical prosecutors who are basically dirty cops, especially with Weissman there. Andrew Weissman, I wrote about yesterday, is regarded as essentially they're playing hardball, and Manafort will be able to defend himself. Now, I'm hoping that one of the breakthroughs we get is that the judge in the Flynn case, this new judge, is going to make a decision that essentially the prosecution denied information from the defense. They violated the Brady rule, and when it comes out that the FBI agent that supposedly Flynn lied to was this guy Strozik, who hates Trump, that I think is going to be a major pushback, and the judge is going to say, well, Strozik also modified his 302 interrogation report on the Flynn interview, all of which I think means Flynn's Fourth Amendment rights were violated. And I think Flynn has a good basis for getting the case thrown out. If that happens, I think the end for Mueller, because you've also got the same kind of issues with Manafort and Gates. And by the time the courts are fully aware of how dirty this prosecution was and how Mueller is and passed over to the special counselor, I think Mueller's done. I don't think he has anything. So the problem is, I think you're finding right now that Mueller's on very thin ice, and Trump and the Congress are going to start saying, if this is all you've got, it happened starting in 2006, which is 10 years earlier than the campaign, and neither one of them would have been under any investigation had they not participated in the Trump campaign. So it's not related to Russian collusion. It's off of the mission that Mueller had, and they've become targets on IRS and other registration investigations of potential crimes. Had they been with the Clinton Foundation, they could have continued to skate. And it's this kind of double standard of justice, I think, is going to be appalling to Americans. And when it's fully exposed, Mueller better behave. The tables are going to turn. Mueller could easily be under investigation himself in the Uranium One for suppressing that bribery investigation ongoing when voted with Hillary to give control, Uranium One, 100% ownership to energy. Mueller's, I think, increasingly in a very difficult position. And I think it's becoming recognized, and that's going to be a situation that I think over time is going to be a prosecutor's role. And I don't expect it to be very long before the special prosecutor's role is ended. So that's my take on Gates and Manafort, and I continue to consider it a tragedy that the two of them are Mueller can focus on. They had not had anything to do with Donald Trump, they wouldn't be under investigation.
Looking for leverage.
Well, yeah, I think Mueller, but they don't have any evidence against Trump. That's the problem, is that, the Mueller and that had nothing to do with Trump. And it was 10 years before the campaign. So again, this is the kind of issue that I think makes Mueller look like he's completely off track.
Did you see that, Dr. Corsi?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Did you see that picture last night of Mueller and Brennan and Schiff? Somebody posted up on the...
No, I'd like to see that one. Where is that picture? I'd like to see that one. If we get that reposted, that would be very interesting. After I was on last night, I pretty much immediately went to sleep. I was really tired last night. I've been doing a lot of, I was on the internet quite a bit and was writing yesterday as well. Let's see, I don't see it. If someone could repost that picture, I would appreciate it. There's quite a bit on here that I haven't reviewed from last night. Okay, so let's get into these. Let's do the and as soon as you get that picture, let me know if someone finds it. Let's start with I guess it would be, let's see. We did the did we do the spaces and the tweet and the cross reference? Did we do 808, which is February 22nd at about 9 o'clock. That's clearly the reference to the coordination between Q and Trump, with Trump holding the card in his White House meeting, I believe with the survivors and others involved in the Florida shooting, when five of Trump's fingers were in the picture, holding a card with number 5, and it said, "I hear you." And then I think there were a number of spaces left in the tweet, and the cross-reference, which corresponded to the spaces that between Trump and Q were the same number of spaces left. Is that correct? Are you there?
I'm here. Actually, Resignation was looking at that. I was wondering if he was here.
Are we talking about the 18 and 58 spaces?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was coordination between the spaces and the Trump tweet and the Q post. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8chan has got a better handle on it, and I believe Brainstorm is working on it a little bit more. But which one came first? Was it the tweet? No, the drop came first. That had 58 spaces in it. Then Trump's tweet came out and we counted it at 18 spaces.
Okay, well, it was 803. It was the where it said signal 55 read, and then Trump held down the card, which was 5 fingers, the 5th point, and I hear you. So that was clearly, was clearly a wink back and forth and an acknowledgement to us. Let's leave it at that for the moment. 809. The clowns revealed in China, other 2010, 187. Now, there was discussion last night that there were CIA in China. Did we get that?
Captured. Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at that and finding a whole lot of information.
People are still saying it's trolling over there, really. I mean, as others are saying, I'm coming through just fine. We may have a lot. We may have a lot of trolls on the board today.
We may have some. There's just nothing.
There's nothing we can do on it. Okay.
Do I come through bad?
Okay, let's continue then. Let's go on to the. What was the article that we found about who was killed in China? Do we have an article on that or a link we can post?
It's down in the live stream now.
It's down in live stream.
Swagger just posted.
Okay, let me take a look at it. It says, okay, let's just pull up that article. It said at least 18 sources. I'm just getting it here now. This is 2017. The Chinese government systematically dismantled CIA spying operations in the country starting in 20, killing or imprisoning more than a dozen sources over 2 years and crippling intelligence gathering for years afterward. Current and former American officials described the intelligence breach as one aides set up a scramble in Washington intelligence and law enforcement to contain the fallout. Investigators were bitterly divided over the cause. Some were convinced that it was CIA that betrayed the United States. Others believed the Chinese had hacked the covert system the CIA used to communicate with its foreign sources. Years later, the debate remains unresolved. Okay, so looks like the New York Times is writing a little bit of a cover-up article here. Sold Intel HRC open source server clearly that part seems to suggest that Hillary was the fault, and her email server. I mean, sold intelligence is a pretty. If Hillary sold intelligence and it resulted in a death or capture of U.S. agents in China, that's going to have to be considered another act of treason.
Absolutely.
In addition to the violation of the classified laws regarding the handling of classified material, the missing emails. So again, maybe what's in some of those 30 or 33,000 emails that we have not seen would reveal the breach with allowed China to discover who the agents were. And that would be probably the SAP material that Hillary was exchanging, which was specific intelligence regarding agents, which is probably the most secure, or should be the most secure of all intelligence.
So I have something on that.
Go ahead.
The next couple lines is the HRC open source server, missing emails, CrowdStrike granted access. And when I started digging on CrowdStrike, I found, and amazing people have sent me messages about it too that are on here, that they brought in CrowdStrike after the FBI couldn't figure out how the hack happened, quote unquote, couldn't figure it out. So Hillary hired CrowdStrike to work on figuring out the hack, and they noticed evidence of someone inside her organization having accessed it, which we now know was Seth Rich. They were the only ones to inspect the email situation, and they were also the only ones who were able to be the public mouthpiece, confirming that there was no wrongdoing and everything. You know, it was something else. It wasn't Hillary's fault. Following that, CrowdStrike was given $100 million from Google. He is funded under one of Soros's umbrellas, connected to, it looks like a lot of meddling and hacking type stuff. So I wonder if CrowdStrike, which is supposed to be a recovery and protection program, is actually not protecting anyone at the time ever. They're using that as a cover to get information.
Well, CrowdStrike is tied to Eric Schmidt through that $100 million investment. And they were the first to say that they called it a hack of the Democratic National Committee's computer, and they attributed it to Russia because they argued they saw metadata that was Cozy Bear and Fuzzy Bear. Remember, that was that whole issue. Subsequently, it suggested that CrowdStrike planted those references to Fuzzy Bear and Cozy Bear, and may have themselves detected that it was Seth Rich who did the leak from inside, an inside job. But
so I got another piece of information about that.
Okay.
I am looking into it now, but apparently one of our group members follows this stuff very closely, and she follows a couple people who've been involved in the investigation and who've kept the Seth Rich story going.
Okay.
I'm just trying to pull the message up.
Good morning, everyone. I'm back.
Pamela, how are you? Morning.
Oh, Doc Corsi. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, we're doing good, just decoding, trying to sort through these.
So what I found.
Yeah, don't let me interrupt. Go ahead.
So I was sent information that apparently CrowdStrike paid to have what they're saying, what people are reporting. This is not, I'm not accusing anyone or saying anyone's guilty of something. I just want to preface that with this. It says CrowdStrike paid to have Seth Rich and Sean Lucas murdered. Once Seth Rich was murdered, CrowdStrike paid over $100,000. And once Sean Lucas was murdered, CrowdStrike paid out $98,000. They both leaked the emails together, Aaron, Rich, and Seth. However, Aaron wasn't murdered because apparently he rolled over for the defense contractors and the FBI.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not sure what CrowdStrike found when they went into it, and Q has attributed the killing of Seth Rich to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I think what CrowdStrike's major role was to say it was Russia that did the hack. The metadata that's been studied independently at CrowdStrike, and remember, the DNC did not hand over those computers to the FBI. They've never been, as far as I know, they've never been searched or reviewed by government experts. But it was published, I believe, in The Nation, some pretty credible studies that show that the time of the breach to get the emails was not long enough for it to have been a hack. And to have gotten all of those emails in a hack would have taken some considerable amount of time. More likely to me has always been, and I've always maintained, that Seth Rich did it because he knew what he wanted. He knew where the emails were. You put a device into a computer and you download them, and you walk out. And certainly Assange has hinted over and over again that it was Seth Rich. Now, if CrowdStrike, which is over here in this new post, if CrowdStrike was granted access,
Yes.
and so they had access into. Now it says betrayed.
Well, so what else I found when we were reviewing it this morning is that CrowdStrike is under George Soros's umbrella. Like he finances that company.
Yeah, I think it's fair to assume that CrowdStrike is both a source and that they're job the breach. Now, the missing emails were not involved specifically in the Seth Rich but CrowdStrike, when they came on in, were granted access. And I'm not sure whether, CrowdStrike breached that access or CrowdStrike, did something that pulled emails off the computer or not. But he says only the tip, this will be made public soon. Now, whatever the specifics are, you've got CrowdStrike as a Soros and Eric Schmidt operation.
Right. And Comey actually praised them when he was testifying.
Well, in fact, that was also part of the information that was the intelligence review, where you had Clapper saying 17 intelligence agencies or something of that nature had all published intelligence review. I'd have to find it again
I think I just
on the
posted
internet
it for you, or at least the link to the article for that.
By the way, just to go back to the 58, Thundershock pointed out that there were 48 spaces between the letters and 18 spaces in Trump's tweet, which is 58. And there were 58, but there was a whole blank line.
Oh, I apologize. I said 58 and okay, go.
So it was 58. It's right up there posted. Thundershock posted it to show where the 58 occur, corresponding into Trump's email and Q's post. And the spaces do it. So I just want to kind of confirm that. Okay, now you say you posted Comey praised. Okay, here, Breitbart article. I want to look at this for a minute. This is a Breitbart article, and it was the March 20th, 2017. CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity company working for the DNC, released a report tying Russian hacking to an incident that never happened. Yet, even after the report had been debunked, FBI Director James Comey still referred to CrowdStrike as a highly respected private company at a Senate hearing.
I've got the Q post 436 up on our live stream there that first mentioned CrowdStrike.
I don't see that reference here. What did it? What for? Okay, I see it here now. Yeah, well, that was. I remember. It was one of the first ones I decoded, and that was one where he said Google, CrowdStrike, DNC, and that was what led me to investigate CrowdStrike, and I found out the Eric Schmidt investment in CrowdStrike. The CrowdStrike was a Democratic firm, and I'm sure sent in there to do the cover up, and that was back in December when he was making that point. Now, this point today is a little bit different. This point is saying basically that what came out of the server was information that ended up compromising these agents in China and ended up getting them killed. Binney also supported that it was a hack, not the DNC hack was a leak, not a hack. That I think is pretty well. I'm pretty well convinced that that's the case.
Yeah.
My own conclusion too.
It seems like they lied and said there was a hack when it was actually leaking.
And that was the whole point of CrowdStrike, was to go in there and say that.
They blamed it on the Russians.
They blamed it on the Russians. Exactly. They didn't
Russia.
They want to blame it on. They did not want to blame it on Seth Rich,
Right.
although they knew it was Seth Rich, and according to Q, Debbie Wasserman Schultz had Seth Rich killed.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before. I've always put Seth Rich with Hillary.
Well, I mean, Seth Rich, Hillary, after Seth Rich found out that Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz had done everything they could to rig the election against Sanders, he was a Sanders supporter. Okay, now this Russian meddling, the intelligence directors came out. This was in July 2017. I'm going to try to find the actual report, but they were basically saying that the intelligence agencies, 17 agencies, said it was Russian hacking that got into the Democratic Convention, National Committee's computer. Now that was on, again, now if we go back to that whole, I want to find the report. Let's see, it was an official report. It was an official report. I've got a reference. I have to search my articles to find it, but there's Google's making it very hard to find it. But
as always, use.
Yeah, I often do. Here we go. Let's see if this is it. This was in January 2017. I think this is the DNI report right here. It's coming up now. Yes. This is the DNI report. It was 6 January. I'll post in the Discord link here. Okay, now what this report said was that it was assessing Russian activities in recent U.S. elections. And this was declassified, and they were talking about how their methodology was. And I think their methodology relied heavily on CrowdStrike, as I recall. Let me find that. That OCR document, I think. But if I look through it, I think it'll find the DHS report, I think, with CrowdStrike analysis. And this was, the official U.S. intelligence assessment that did not have 17 agencies behind it. It wasn't universally agreed on, and it was based largely on the CrowdStrike analysis, because there was no independent analysis by the government of Hillary's computers. Now, this was, again, all part of the cover-up, and it was when Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the others were trying to blame Russia and to try to tie the Russian hack of the computers to Trump. That was the original narrative, and it fell apart. That's not been able to be established. Now, what Q is saying today was part of the cover-up, and they were granted access. And in fact, these agents were betrayed by Hillary either selling the intelligence or maintaining an open source server, which she did with her Clinton email server. That's only the tip, and it's going to be made public soon. This is, again, if the timetable is accelerating and this kind of information is going to come out, that's going to be devastating if that's proved to Hillary. Because the next one is really where they sold SAPs, A10, Anonymous said, and Q immediately responds, how do you break up something this big? Which, we'll read that one in its entirety, but it means clearly that SAP information that was gained was being sold. Now, that could easily have also been through Huma Abedin, who was transferring a lot of this information onto her Yahoo computer. And possibly, and I've always suspected, selling it. Because the Yahoo could be read by anybody to whom she gave or sold her username and her password. And they were offline, and they would not have been recognized as being watched by somebody monitoring the government computers. Go ahead now, please.
So, Dr. Corsi, looking at the previous post and the sold SAPs, it says granted access in 809. Is it possible that Hillary's open source server was opened up and that's how the SAPs
Absolutely possible.
Or that, see, when we got the Hillary, Judicial Watch got Hillary, got a whole set, maybe a couple hundred of Huma's email campaign. It was during August, September. I analyzed them, and I wrote a couple of articles. Let me pull those up here for a second, because this was pretty important in the whole development of this. Let me just do it. I did that for WND. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay, I wrote this article. I wrote 3 or 4 of these articles. These were all published in October of 2016. I'll put one here in Discord. And what I had done was I went into it, points out that Yahoo is not cooperating when we found out that Huma Abedin had been forwarding to Huma Abedin, Huma A. Abedin at yahoo.com, her emails. And I found out she forwarded sensitive email material to that address. Here's another article. This actually was the basis for why the New York Police Department and the FBI decided to go seize Wiener, because we had tipped them off at this time that Wiener's computer probably held the information of Huma transferring State Department National Classified material to her yahoo.com account. Just so everybody understands it, Huma had access to Hillary's entire email account, and she was forwarding a great number of the emails from Hillary to her yahoo.com. Anybody to whom she gave the username or password or sold it could read. And I found that more than 160 emails of the 160 emails in the latest Judicial Watch release, some 110, 2/3 of the total, were forwarded by Abedin to personal addresses she controlled, which was Huma M. Abedin, redacted, and H. Abedin at redacted. Now, as I found one of them subsequently that had an unredacted address at Yahoo. And once I found that, it was clear that and the spaces matched. and all the others that were redacted, it was Huma was sending her emails to Yahoo, which could easily have been sold or monitored. She could have sold them to the Muslim Brotherhood. She was Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, now we also knew that Hillary had SAP material. I'll find that for a second, because that was obvious in the Judicial Watch drops too. We found Hillary SAP private email server. I'm sure that'll pull up some of the articles. Yes, they were. She was exchanging top. Here, this is an article from. I think this is the Vice News, where there were 24 top secret emails from her unsecured server with 3 senior aides. The U.S. State Department revealed in documents released to Vice late Friday, and these were with her campaign chief of staff, Jacob Sullivan, her deputy chief of staff at State Department, Jake Sullivan, her chief of staff, Cheryl Mills, and Deputy Secretary of State William Burns, and that some of these contained SAP material, which is basically material you're not supposed to. There's even restricted ways you're supposed to look at SAP. It's like these, rooms they have set up in the Capitol for intelligence information to be viewed by Congress. So in a letter sent to Congressional Oversight Committees on January 14th, Charles McCullough, the intelligence community's Inspector General, 2 sworn declarations from the intelligence community members who determined that Clinton's communications contained information to be confidential, secret, and top secret SAP. Top secret SAP, or Special Access Program, is a classified designation deemed so sensitive that it requires more rigorous protection than other classified information. Such protection may include heightened need-to-know requirements, cover measures, and other steps. Now, again, ties into what Q is saying, is that Hillary had access to and exchanged on her private email server SAP material, which is a major crime. And if it did lead to compromising intelligence assets, I think would subject her to treason charges. Let's see what's being said over in the law of these issues. Okay, let's see here. People are saying CrowdStrike could be the murderers. Certainly they could, but I'm going with Q saying Debbie Wasserman Schultz ordered it. I think once the DNC realized that this was an internal job and they traced it to Seth Rich, which is probably what CrowdStrike figured out, that it was Seth Rich, and they planted that it was Russia. That's my guess as to what they did. And they gave the information, it was Seth Rich, to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Basically, that was enough to, right at that point, say they were going to get rid of Seth Rich before he compromised further. He may have had other material, and he may have compromised further the DNC. And Seth Rich was killed just before the material started to be dropped by WikiLeaks, the DNC emails, the Podesta emails. Okay.
So Dr. Corsi.
Yes.
Supports that.
Pardon me?
So looking at 809 again, is there significance in the way that Q put these particular words in brackets? 187, missing emails, CrowdStrike, soon.
Well, I think so. I mean, see, what I think first of all, the missing emails are probably the key to the SAPs on China. As if SAPs regarding Chinese agents had shown up publicly, or in any of the emails that have been examined, say, by Judicial Watch, that would have been a major, red flag. But the 187, I think, refers to the agents in China that were killed. Missing emails and CrowdStrike. I think CrowdStrike was the cover-up agent on all of this, and the missing emails. CrowdStrike, the missing emails. I think showed up later. I'm trying to remember when the missing emails showed up. They were showing up, I think, pretty early on, actually. But CrowdStrike may have. They were granted access. The agents were betrayed. I think CrowdStrike realized that it was Seth Rich who did the hack, and Seth Rich was also killed. And CrowdStrike was in there as a cover-up agent. They were in there to not find the truth, but to blame Russia.
Right.
And I don't know that CrowdStrike eliminated the emails. I think the emails were missing before. See, remember, you've got two different sets of computers here. You've got Hillary's computer, which is her State Department, and her private server, which was ClintonEmail.com. That was her private server. It was not the DNC server. The DNC emails and the Podesta emails came off the DNC server. Okay, and that was the hack or leak that they brought CrowdStrike in to figure out. Now, the only missing emails, there weren't any missing because they had all been copied. And that was where I believe CrowdStrike planted the metadata to blame Russia and determined that it was Seth Rich and gave that information over to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Emails on the Clinton server are probably where the SAP information went that led to the death of the agents. And it may be those missing emails were some of the ones that Huma translated to her Yahoo account, which was open source, as Hillary's server was open source. Hillary's server could easily have been hacked, and anyone hacking Hillary's server could have been reading all the emails. Okay, but if the intelligence was sold, I'm looking at Huma and possibly even Hillary, who may have done that for money. It's just that it's going to be if Hillary sold SAP intelligence to China, knowing it would, or if Huma did that, that's treason. That ended up in agents being killed.
Dr. Corsi, is there any evidence, specific evidence, that points to Debbie Wasserman Schultz ordering the hit on Seth Rich? I have not seen it, and I've looked for it.
The only evidence we have is Q saying that. He said that in one of the, he may have even said it in the, check the 187s if we just do a find on these emails we're looking at. Hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. I don't know what that's. Okay, I just had some video started playing, so I had to get rid of the video. I clicked the wrong thing. If we do a find, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're fine. Bye-bye.
There's 20 matches of 187. It's going to take us a couple minutes. Barlow was 187.
That mentions Seth Rich. Hold on.
Okay, which post was it?
It was 436.
436.
Resignation anons post.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I thought it was in that one, the 1 of 22. When he comes down here and he says, let's see, Seth Rich 187, MS 13, 2, 187, 2 MS 13 killed Seth Rich. Now he also says Debbie wants to.
New Q, guys.
Perfect.
Wow.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
I had a follow-up.
I'll do the follow-up, and then we'll get the new queue.
Sure, the follow-up was, and this had to do with bulk collection. If we presume that the data cloud that the NSA is grabbing is sitting out and can be accessed through the FISA warrant, why is it that we're not having the intelligence agency publish the difference between what the Democrats and what CrowdStrike are saying versus what the truth is? Because at the end of the day, we know the answer and we have access to it. We only have to reach into it and grab it. Why is that not getting done?
First of all, I think some of it may be getting done. Remember, you've got, I think, military intelligence now working with the NSA, and my guess is they've grabbed everything related to these cases under a definition that they're investigating treason and directive from the president to grab everything. The issue of the CrowdStrike and who hacked or whether it was a leak out of the Democratic National Convention, they have those servers. And I don't think those servers were ever submitted to the FBI or anyone else for analysis. Remember, they were continuously refused to turn over this equipment. And by now, it'd be very difficult with that compromised after CrowdStrike went in there, that I doubt if the equipment's going to resolve the issue. But you're not going to need the equipment. If there are SAPs on China in the missing 30,000 emails from Hillary, which I'm sure they have one way or the other, that's going to be damning right there. Or if they cache on Yahoo, and I'm sure they have those too. They've got all those, which, from what Q is saying here, they've been determined. They know that those deaths in China, the source of that problem, how China found out these guys were agents, came out of the Hillary missing emails and the open source server, which is ClintonEmail.com, or Huma transferring the data to Yahoo. And then CrowdStrike basically was a cover-up agent, granted access, but the agents were betrayed. That's only the tip of the iceberg. And all this is going to be made public. So very quickly, we're going to have all this answered. And by the way, in 810, what the remainder of 810 says is, how do you break up something this big? A traitor sold the SAPs, which is what the anonymous realized 809 was saying. And so what happens if low, mid, senior, non-corrupt patriots learn they were sold out? What happens is they demand treason cases be brought. Who is waiting with open arms with a plan to reorganize under a single entity with direct oversight by trusted patriots? Military intelligence. Who are the trusted patriots election? Military intelligence. I'm saying continuously after these posts last night, I've been thinking about that if the CIA is broken up, which I think has got to be one of the conclusions here, military intelligence will come to the forefront in gathering the intelligence we need for security. We're not going to rely on the CIA any longer, which I think since John Kennedy or before has been a corrupt organization.
We got another document.
Okay, what is the most recent post here?
I've dropped it in here. It says, "Do you have more than you know? This is why we are here. Great job, Patriot. Watch the speech. We're talking to you. Proofs only meant for you. Q." And then he dropped a link, and the link goes to an El Amir Medhat indictment.
Been awesome.
Has the speech been awesome? What is he? He's still speaking, huh?
He's mentioned common sense numerous times.
Yeah.
And you look at the thing, proofs only meant for you. He's talking to us through the screen.
He said in the beginning, we've elevated many circuit court judges, one Supreme Court judge, and these are going to follow the law. They're going to determine the laws. So he really has been pushing on that. It is not, I don't think it's still happening. I am pausing that to listen to you and go back and forth.
Can you
Let's
post
see
the link, please?
Yeah, let's post the link to the the speech. We can get a transcript of the speech later on.
We have one, I think.
He's linking the two documents. One of the anonymous posted this account number, Hussein Traveling the Globe, which was a Q post from January. Where did the money come from? How do you destroy the most powerful country in the world? Direct attack, covert operation to infiltrate at the highest level, to destroy from within the game. This is basically when Q is saying that Hussein, was traveling with globalist money, and it was back when he was linking to those Chicago loop accounts and the slush accounts that Obama had, and this was how do you destroy the most powerful country in the world with direct attack? No, with covert operations to infiltrate highest levels and destroy from within. Okay, that's one of the posts there that he's referencing. And the second one here was this El Amir Mayhead indictment. Department of Justice had access to checking accounts in the name of his sons, and this is at the Bank of America branch in New Jersey.
Tax evasions. It looks like I'm on page 17. It's talking about indictment for tax evasion.
Are we going to go over this new Q post or what?
We're doing it now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just my fault. I was typing in chat. I missed it. Have we read through it?
Well,
we're talking about it now.
I'm looking for
Dang, I suck, guys. I'm sorry.
We have the indictment.
Just a little, just a lot.
There's the indictment there. We can download the indictment.
Yes.
Yeah, is it the Google source of the Justice? Probably the Justice link there. I'll try to download it. That's the same account. The account that traveling on. This account and the indictment are the same account. Pardon me? So you have more than a great job, Patriot. Why?
Keep these people. Yeah, they put names in.
Script and see the
Oh yeah.
And for that's all.
No one will wild.
Very where if we couple Hillary AP information killed out to this point that Obama was traveling internationally and from this indicted
So he'll just have to take the video off.
Brainstorm do that now, so it's, yeah, I'm sure he will. Okay, so this is with regards to this immediate care facility in North Bergen County, 2 offices in Jersey City. He did not have a bookkeeper.
Doc, they're not hearing any of this, by the way. You might want to wait until we get the audio issues here fixed.
Okay.
Brainstorm, I don't know if you're there, but you gotta cut that video off. It's messing up with.
You got all day to watch that speech, homeboy.
Yeah, we can watch that later.
Has he got it fixed? Better send him a message.
Sure. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, there we go.
There's just a delay. You won't see the effects right away, but it's done.
Yeah, it'll take 30 seconds or so. So we should be good now.
Well, what this indictment is about is a Muslim who owned or apparently a Muslim who owned one of these immediate care facilities, 60% owner in North Bergen in New Jersey, and had all these accounts. One of his wife, the one that was with Obama. What were the last 4 numbers in the one with Obama? The Bank of America, I think. Son 1, Son 2. He had all these different accounts. He caused a fraudulent sale of his residence, caused checks from insurance companies to be cashed. So they're getting him basically for his for tax evasion and a tax evasion case. And he obstructed it's tax evasion. But what it does is it indicates that that's the same last 4 numbers that Obama was using. And so this may be where the money for Obama came from, which would again tie Obama back into probably Hezbollah money, because that's the Hezbollah connection that the anonymous is pointing to.
Oh, you're right. He is toast.
And so you have more than you know. This is why we are here. Great job, Patriot. Watch the speech. We're talking to you. Proofs only meant for you. I want to go back. Okay, I think we've got that. We'll have to listen to the speech later on today and pick up the references. So 810, how do you break up something this big, military intelligence? And then he commented at 811, for those watching, this should scare you. It's the power you depend on to survive. Money is worthless without those in power serving you. White House military patriots ready to play. I mean, yeah, it is pretty frightening if you can think that, for money, Hillary and others have sold out the United States, which we know not only in uranium, now with this China issue. She's saying, for those who are watching, namely Hillary and others, this ought to scare you because, basically, money is not going to do these people any good if they don't have the cover of people like Obama in the White House. And she said, we've got the White House, the military, and the patriots. Are you really ready to play? Which I think is, about as direct a threat. And it also comes with the warning that the timetable is moved up. I mean, this is moving up the timetable now with some additional, really explosive information that we haven't had before. 812, they want you divided. How can some be so blind? Help them wake up. Estimated 20 million reached. We're reaching 20 million already, which is, a wide number to reach with what we're doing in this whole anonymous movement. And I think it is the anonymous who are pulling the movement forward. Question everything, keep talking, stand up, fight, fight, fight. How do they control children? What prevents a child from telling the truth, from revealing the truth? Control children through fear and shame. And what prevents a child from telling the truth? the same. In other words, that certainly sounds like, again, to the reference to the pedophilia aspect of everything we're dealing with here. And
loss of family.
Go ahead. What?
Loss of family, and several of us were talking about this last night, Dr. Corsi. Several of us have lived through it, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I think this is where you're saying keep talking, stand up, fight, fight, fight. And the pedophilia aspect and reminder there is, again, upsetting, and one of the aspects of this makes it so troubling. They want you divided. How can someone be so blind? Help them wake up. And this whole idea also controlling children. The other way you control children is with drugs. And it may also be some reference to the shooting, which, this drugging of these adolescents was originally an MK Ultra idea so that they can be triggered to do the shooting. Some of them will, with as massive drugs that they're being given, already disturbed. And psychologists and psychiatrists are writing these prescriptions like they were candy. People kill people. You're watching a movie. They want you weak. Slave, sheep, distraction. Well, again, I think that's the whole point of waking up. We're going to continue doing this. So that the people out there who are not red-pilled quit watching a movie. And, that's what you're being shown by the mainstream media as a movie. And then the one we just got today, which I think ties together this money from Obama, the account for Obama, which is located, the last two numbers are 2391. And this indictment, let's see if I can find that in here. Again, I'm not sure it's OCR. I'm not sure it'll do a find. Yeah, probably won't. Let's see what the accounts end up here in this indictment, because they've got the accounts listed. Hold on. Okay, there's check 9. That's not the first one. No. I don't see the 2391 yet. Looking through it. Oh, there we go. It's number L, KL, had access to a checking account in the name of one of his sons, son number 1. 8 X's, 2391 at Bank of America branch in New Jersey. And the this previous post listed why this is from January 5. Why is Hussein traveling the globe? Dollars, 100 million. And one of the accounts are X's and 2391. And Q says, and America for Sale, by the way, that was one of the posts in which I wrote a book called America for Sale. And I took that at the time as a kind of a call out to the book, because that was one of my points in the book. My point in the book was that these globalists would readily sell America for money and be happy to. That America was for sale by these globalists because they weren't patriots. And I thought that mentioning the title of the book was not entirely coincidental. It certainly hit me that way when I read it. And now we have it tied to this bank account. And Q is saying you have more than you know. Okay, is there anything going on in the chat that we didn't cover? I mean, the chat's been kind of okay here. Trump is let's see. People are asking where the new Qs are showing up. New Q posts are showing up. Maybe we can post that back. Everybody says the audio is back again. Yes. Trump is really wowing them over there on the speech. People are mostly commenting on the speech right now. Okay. People are still complaining about the sound. I don't know what's happened to the sound today, but
so yeah, we could address the sound stuff. We have to do some tweaking again. I mean, some of it has to do with the remote server that we're using. There are limits on that. We're just kind of a duct tape and baling wire organization at this point. So we're doing what we can with what we've got, just like any other good citizen journalist is going to have to do. So I wanted to be able to play the Trump speech on there, but it was too big of a drag on the server. Because it's not a real server. It's just a desktop computer in somebody's basement. So,
right. Yeah,
so right now
it's got some technical limitations. So
right.
I am going to try. I was thinking maybe playing around with like a low, what do you call it? Like a freaking like high speed browser, like one of those really like streamlined browsers that don't take up much in the way of like processing speed, and see if that might help. And a few other things. So we'll play with it.
One of the comments over here of Watchful Eye was asking whether the comment trusted patriots who understand intel collection, if that combined with trust sessions and this new cyber task force. Yes, I think it does. And I think that you're going to find that this cyber task force is going to probably come out against the censorship being done by Google and Yahoo and others, but it's also going to be a strong move toward tighter control over all of cyber communications, which I think will push it toward the military control. Because I don't think it's clearly the State Department allowed Hillary to have this private server, allowed all these abuses to occur. And the CIA was in the middle of all this, with Brennan and the like supporting this national security review that said it was the Russians based on CrowdStrike. So at any rate, I think all these are issues that are going to move fast and move very fast towards setting up the basis for military increasing involvement. And, if I'm right, we're going to have a playing out of this Mueller very soon. And then in the beginning of March, when we begin getting the information from the voting study, we'll get some more. I think Nunes is setting up some traps, which are going to result, over this whole fusion GPS. That's going to reach a new level. We have a new whole level of the fusion GPS. I think we're headed toward the consideration of whether it's time to end Mueller and have a new special prosecutor. I think we'll find, and if the Inspector General report occurs on the FBI in March, that's going to be another major factor in March pushing in that direction.
So at some point today, we should be able to arrange for getting a transcript for that the speech that the president made at the CPAC, and maybe we can go back through and do a closer reading of that transcript.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm going to sign off now, and I'm going to come back.
I have one other question that came out of the live chat.
Sure.
Have we connected CrowdStrike to Bill Gates in any way?
I believe he's mentioned.
Yeah, one of Bodie McBoatface asked or mentioned CrowdStrike is related to Bill Gates.
It wouldn't surprise me. Hold on, let's just do a quick. Wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think that it was the main thing was Google investing $100 million in CrowdStrike, which they did in July 2015.
Yes.
Okay, and CrowdStrike was founded by two McAfee execs in 2011. cloud tool that helps government and enterprises discover and stop an attack as it's occurring. It previously had raised $56 million, but I don't know where the initial capital came from it. But I doubt if it is. Yes, okay.
Yeah, I think the money came from Soros.
I'm just looking where their initial money came. Okay, hold on. Let's see. The founders, is Series D, CrowdStrike raise. They were raising money on a. They raised $281 million on basic stock offering, and it would have to have been that Gates would have bought some stock. But I doubt if Gates is a big investor in this. I could be wrong, but they did a series of raises. They started raising money in 2012, and they basically I don't think they got the $100 million from Google was the big deal.
Do you see the last article I just posted in the text stream with Soros?
Hold on, yeah. Called funding CrowdStrike. Well, as Soros doing it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, that's another issue. He can do it through his foundation.
Yes.
Let's see, how did he do it? The DNC relied almost exclusively on CrowdStrike for the claims that Russia was behind the hack. Soros' involvement with the corporation as early as 2017, the billionaire told a packed audience at the World Economic Forum that he would take down Trump for disrupting his New World Order. The founder of CrowdStrike is also tied to the Atlantic Council, a think tank supported by Soros, which has been accused of accepting funds in exchange for favored policy positions, as well as promoting disinformation and propaganda attacks against establishment figures. And they go through the fact that CrowdStrike was never, their claims of Russian hacking were never validated by the federal government, despite that intelligence report. They misrepresented data. In December 2016, they ran another report alleging Russia hacked an Ukrainian artillery app. It needed to buttress its claims of Russian hacking in the presidential election. The report was immediately contested by the maker of the Ukrainian military app, who called the CrowdStrike report delusional. CrowdStrike was clearly in the bag with Soros and Eric Schmidt in terms of trying to frame the DNC theft of emails on Russia in order to tie it to Trump, which was the initial narrative. I don't think it had anything to do with Gates. That narrative is long dead. And we know that that's a fraud. And that's, I think, one of the reasons Eric Schmidt hightailed it as soon as Trump signed that executive order. The two new pieces in the drops yesterday are that it dropped today, tying Obama's bank account to this probably Muslim criminal here in New Jersey with his bank accounts that he was evading taxes on, and Hillary and the SAP data being sold that resulted in the deaths of government agents in China. And then, of course, CrowdStrike's involvement in all of this, which is one of the Democratic operative cover-ups. And then the underlying theme that we continue to have is that Trump and Q are working together. They hear us. They're sending messages to us. The timetable is moved up, and the military is taking increasing control behind the scenes. So I think those are the things developing that we can learn from these today. I'm not sure I'm going to do any writing today on a trial. And I may do a live stream again today. I just have to see how that develops around 5 o'clock on my Yahoo channel, but I'll be back here about 6 o'clock unless there's something else that develops.
Dr. Corsi, I have one last question, and maybe it's just one food for thought. On post number 810, Q drop 810.
Yes.
How do you break up something this big? And I'm reminded of 9/11. Those are the biggest towers that have ever been collapsed in a city, and the biggest structures. And if you look at the 93 attack, they attacked the base. And if you go to the 9/11 event itself, there were those that were in the basement that were thrown against the wall and ended up bloody from some kind of explosion in the basement. Don't we go after the base? Isn't that what he's saying?
Well, I think, I mean, the specific references to the traders selling out the SAPs, which is about as big as you can get. I mean, if, you know, any trader would sell SAP information, which would be highly valuable to a foreign government that wanted to kill our CIA agents. That big. And when you realize that lower, mid, senior, non-corrupt patriots realize they were sold out, I mean, you know, the operative field agents and the CIA and others realizing that sold them out, what happens? Well, you want punishment from her that can't be severe enough to satisfy
Dr. Corsi?
you. Yes.
You've got some something coming in, maybe from your background. We got the president's speech in the background there. Sounds like.
Either way.
No, it may be picking up through my head. It may be picking up through my headset. Let me turn the TV off. Does that help it?
You're fine, bro. You're about to go. You're fine.
Yeah, I didn't have the TV on volume on. But I'm saying, with this kind of information, if you found out you were sold out by Hillary Clinton and you're a field agent, that you can't get punishment severe enough to satisfy you. And so, who's waiting with open arms and a plan to reorganize under a single entity with direct oversight by trusted patriots? That's the military. And who are the trusted patriots who understand intel collection? It's Army intelligence. And I think that's really basically where this is headed. Army intelligence, which we've been signaled from the very beginning when, you know, Q said early on which agency, which intelligence has, you know, superiority over all the others. And that Reynolds v. U.S. decision made it clear it's military intelligence. Military intelligence is going to end up bowling the game here. And we don't need the CIA. If the CIA wanted a contest between their Snow White and Seven Dwarfs and what the NSA has, I think the government will go with the NSA, although the CIA supposedly is playing a bigger role overseas. I think the CIA is completely off track and is trying to compete directly with the NSA, and they're both doing domestic intelligence, which they probably shouldn't be doing. We probably won't get this whole thing cleaned up unless the military takes over. Okay. Let's wrap it up here for now, and we'll go on to, and I'll go from there. Okay. Catch you all later.
Thank you, Dr. Corsi.